What is going on, guys? Welcome to Greggles TV. This is a T-Mobile phone. It is the TCL 30XE 5G. It is only 200 bucks. That's right, 200 bucks. And you would think for 200 bucks it's going to be crap. It's actually pretty nice for a phone. Now we're going to go through a bunch of stuff on this phone. Before I run through some specs and things like that on this phone, let's first see what comes inside the box. Obviously, you get the phone. You get a charger with charging cable. Very rare, right? You usually don't see that anymore. And then basically that's pretty much it. You get some terms and conditions. Again, that's pretty much the only thing that's inside the box. Here's the phone right here. Again, 200 bucks, made of plastic on the back. I'm complete fine with that. It's not gonna crack if you drop it. Fingerprint sensor on the back there. At the top, you get a nice headphone jack. At the bottom, you get charging, USB-C charging. This does, and stereo speakers as well. This charges at 18 watts. The battery inside is 4,500 milliamp battery. So you're gonna get excellent battery life. And why are you gonna get excellent battery life? Not only because the battery is pretty big, but also because the display is a 720p plus display. It's an IPS LCD display, and it looks great. Yeah, you're used to seeing here in 1080p or 2K plus displays. This is 720p plus, and again, it looks really good. For if you didn't tell me, I would have thought it was 1080p at least. So it looks really, really nice, and it gets pretty bright as well. Let's talk about specs real quick. I'll run through this, not to bore you too much. The specs inside are going to be a MediaTek Dimensity 700. It has a 5G, so you can do 5G networking on here. 64 gigs of storage. That is one of the low points about this, but you can put a micro SD card expansion in this. You also get 4 gigabytes of RAM. Again, a little bit low, but you'll see some performance things on here in a moment. You get a bunch of cameras right here. You get camera on the front as well. No wireless charging, no water resistance or anything like that. But ultimately, what you get is a solid, usable phone. So first of all, let's talk about the performance on here. So again, this has 720p display, but it runs at 90 hertz. And it's 200 bucks. Like when you put those numbers in there together, when you hear 720p, you don't usually hear 90 hertz. And when you hear 200 bucks, you usually don't hear 90 hertz. What does 90 hertz mean? It means you're going to get a very, very smooth running display. Not the smoothest ever in the world, but it's going to feel a lot smoother than pretty much anything else that you use on here. So on another phone. So it's really, really smooth in that regard. The display is nice and bright with that. Let me just open up something real quick. We'll open up some Twitter here for you guys. I know how much you guys love Twitter. It runs great. If you're into something inexpensive but that runs really, really well, performance on this is pretty nice. You see it loads up Twitter pretty fast. I'll load up Subway Surfers here. I'm gonna just mute it just so we don't have. Look at that. Look how vibrant that display is. Hopefully the camera is picking that up. Really beautiful pink color. But here we go. I'm running through this. Look at this. If you like games like this, it's going to run them really, really well. And I'll show you a benchmark in a moment of how it did. And the benchmark is, not the best, but it's also good enough to be able to use your phone and not feel like it's sluggish or slow. And a lot of that comes from not only the processor, but also the 90 hertz refresh rate on that display. I messed up anyway. So there you go. Runs games like that fine. Performance is good. I'm happy with it in those terms. Speaking of the performance, let me just show you a Geekbench score that I did on here. So there you go. It gets a score of 530 on the single core and a multi-core of 1592. So not too bad. So we do have a quad core camera setup, meaning you got one on the front, 3 on the back. The 3 on the back are a 13 megapixel, a 2 megapixel, and a 2 megapixel. You get an LED flash. It does HDR photos. The video on the front and the back is up to 1080p, 30 frames per second. The selfie camera on the front is 8 megapixels. So without further ado, actually before we do that, let me just show you the camera. Very easy to use. You got auto mode, you got video, you got portrait, and you got panorama mode. So it's very, very easy to use, and it works great. You can store, if you put a micro SD card in, because it's only a 64 gigs, you can save your photos to the micro SD card and have basically not unlimited storage, but a lot more storage than previously, on this phone. So without further ado, let's check out some photos and videos that I took with this camera. What's up, everybody? I'm on a walk right now with the dog, sweet little doggy, and super sunny out using this new TCL phone that's exclusively available on T-Mobile here in America. There might be a version overseas in Europe as well, I believe, but definitely this is the one for T-Mobile. 5G, $200. It's pretty insane, but this is the front camera, 1080p. 1080p video is the best this can do, or highest resolution, I should say, on the front and the back cameras. All right, now we're on the main camera, walking. You can see the stabilization. You can hear the microphones. It is a bit of wind out here right now. Nothing too wild, but there is some wind. So if you hear that on these microphones, that's what you're hearing. But ultimately, it's pretty windy right now. Checking this out. I'm going to flip it around. I should have worn some sunglasses because this sun is brutal. It's kind of brutal. It's crazy. In Southern California, you live here. I didn't grow up here, but you move here and like almost every day eventually turns into a sunny, beautiful day. It could start off rainy and ugly, and over 300 days, it'll be sunny. It's just ridiculous. So but this is what it looks like. This is what it sounds like. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. Next, let's check out a video we got here, and we'll see how high the resolution goes. So advanced, we can play up to 1440p. Obviously, this phone is only 720p. You can pinch in. You can see, let's just push it. See, push it to the side there. It gets a little dark on the sides, but you can still see it. And how often are you going to watch it from the side? You're going to watch it straight on, and it looks absolutely fine. It looks great. I can make this isn't even, obviously, I'm at literally 25% brightness. I can load this all the way up to this. I was using it outdoors. It's easy to see it outdoors for the most part. Not the brightest display again, but still usable outdoors. And indoors, obviously, it's going to have no problem with that either. Pull it down to about 25 just for this video. Very happy with the display on here. You saw games already, you saw websites. I'll show you what a picture looks like that I took with it on here on this screen. So let's just go to Google Photos. Here's a beautiful photo that I took with it. Make it as large as it can go. And it's nice. And this display, overall, like I said, 90 hertz, but it does have a 6.52 inch display. So the display is pretty big, but the phone doesn't feel big. And I guess we'll segue into that. How does it feel in your hand? It's pretty thin. The camera bump is almost non-existent. It's not that heavy. It's plastic, so it doesn't feel like it's gonna break. It doesn't feel super cheap either, even $200 and being plastic. It doesn't feel the most premium either, but it just feels good in your hand. I mean, it feels comfortable. I have small hands, and this is just feels good. I'll put the speakers on this video just so you can hear how the quality of audio sounds. Put a case on this, you'd be cool to use it. Holding it in your hand, it's fairly light for the most part. It's got a little bit have to, but it's not too crazy. It's a fairly thin phone. So obviously you can hear that. Let's play some music.
Snow in this winterland used to look so pretty, now making me moody. In the deep woods, alone with my feels, spend too much time thinking. In the end, you'll be with me. I hear from your passion, my doubts are gone.
Speakers don't sound amazing. They also don't sound really, really bad. I'd give them basically a 4 out of 10 or a 5 out of 10 at the best if I was rating them. Fingerprint sensor, let me just show you that. I like it on the back. It's not my ultimate favorite. It's definitely in my top 2 though. Easy to work. You can see it's accurate and it's pretty fast. So let's talk about this phone. Is it worth $200? Definitely. It's a phone that does a few things. Gives you 5G. So if you're on T-Mobile, you'll be able to get 5G on it, which is absolutely amazing for $200. It's probably the cheapest 5G phone or most affordable, whatever you want to call it, 5G phone on T-Mobile. The screen is beautiful, even though it's only 720 plus. The speakers are adequate. The cameras can take a nice photo. Video is okay. The stabilization isn't that great because it uses electronic image stabilization. The software, we didn't even really go into that too much, but it runs kind of a basic Android software, but it does offer some nice customizations on here, which I will show in a separate video, like more in depth. And you can change a lot of the settings and things on here so you can get more control of it. And ultimately it ends up being easy to use, but also adds some extra features to your phone. And headphone jack, it's hard to find those. Expandable storage, 64 gigs of storage internally is a little small, but like I said, having the expandable storage really helps to improve the quality of the phone, because you can get inexpensive storage for that fingerprint sensor is good. So I'd give it a go if you're looking for a first-time phone, or a phone for a kid or an older person, or a person that just doesn't want to spend a lot of money but wants to get a good experience with their phone. This is a great phone to try out. Check it out, guys. Link down below. We'll see you down the road.